I've done an episode on here. Well, the last one I did, I realised that it wasn't worth talking about anything for a certain person that was involved, so I got rid of that episode. Even though the next person I'm going to talk about is also a social media influencer, Trishas. She is someone I've been subscribed to for God knows how long. And she only recently, as of, I think it was last month, had her baby. I don't really approve of the name, even though it's not my baby. I don't want children myself, so yeah. And apparently people are going mad about how she's treating the child. That they're concerned that it's got a white tongue. Because there was like an Instagram picture that she posted saying, "This is my new podcast host." Even though she's obviously joking. Because the baby cannot speak. It's not even a month old. Well, it is, I think, a month old now. Technically. Because it was born in September. And it is now October. So, I don't know. I'm not good with like maths and stuff like that. So. But apparently, from what I've read, it is normal for babies to have white tongues. Because they have like, all they drink is milk at that age and stuff like that. So. I mean, well, I hope that the child hasn't got thrush or anything like that, so let's hope not. I do wonder what the child's going to be like when she gets older, if she's going to have... I'm sorry if you can hear that noise in the background, that's a baby pigeon. Me and my partner have got many pigeons as pets, so yeah, just ignore that noise. I'm sorry if that kind of ruined your hearing because it's so high pitched. But yeah. It just seems really strange to me that Trisha's got a child now. It just seems so surreal that it has happened. Even though apparently, well, not apparently, I actually saw it happen. During her birth vlog, she accidentally said her ex's name, which is quite interesting. But I think it could have been because she was drugged up on epidurals and stuff like that. So she said Jason at one point, and it's like, God, that's bad. And her husband, you know, Moses, he said he didn't say anything to that. So maybe he just assumed, you know, oh, you know, she's drugged up or whatever. So give it a pass. And Trish is already on about having another child in like the next year or something like that. I'm like, well, it's going to be a lot for her to handle. You know, one that's like a year old by that point, and then another that's going to be newborn and it all over again. I think she's one of those people that kind of like enjoys the newborn stage. But it's like they're not going to be that way forever. They're going to grow. It's like when you get a kitten, you know, it's just like any kind of animal. You just think, oh, they're going to look cute forever. Well, the only animal I can think... Well, there are animals that I think still look cute when they're adults. It's like I've got... Me and my partner have 9 pigeons. 6 adults and 3 babies currently. And I think 2 eggs were laid recently as well. And I think they're all pretty cute. The babies and the adults. And we also have 2 ferrets. One is a polecat, the other we do not know what kind of breed she is, but the polecat is a boy, and he is absolutely adorable. His name is Shadow. And the other one is called Munchkin. And we did not give her that name, she came with that name from the previous owner, who is no longer with us. And we never got to meet her, but we just got told by the person who brought Munchkin to us that, you know, she's gone. But yeah, don't want to talk about that because I'm uncomfortable when it comes to talking about death and stuff like that. I don't know why, it's just I'm a weirdo. I don't like going to funerals and things like that. It just makes me uncomfortable. I don't want to be disrespectful to anybody by saying that, but it's just how I am. And also, on a different note, I watched the Netflix Jeffrey Dahmer series starring Evan Peters, and I have to admit it was pretty incredible. I mean, how he played Jeffrey, and he sounded just like him. It's scary. I reckon if you'd have probably closed your eyes and listened to him talking as Jeffrey, like the voice acting part, and then compare it to the real Jeffrey, I think the only difference is the pitch, because obviously I think Evan Peters is probably younger. I actually don't know how old Evan Peters is, but I'm guessing that Jeffrey, when he was alive at least, was a little bit older than Evan. And but it seemed like a pretty good show, even though when I first saw the trailer and it came to the sandwich scene in the trailer for the show, I did feel a bit physically sick in terms of like knowing what's in that sandwich. And it's certainly not regular meat that humans eat, it's more like just human meat. And apparently in real life, several people ate sandwiches from him and they probably had no idea that they'd even eaten human flesh at the time. So that's kind of freaky, to say the least. Yeah, the thing is like, I watched the show, and I don't know why, I'm just oddly desensitised by the whole thing. I've always liked true crime and stuff like that, even though what he did was obviously horrible. The thing is that there's so many things made about him. It's like literally in like, it's literally today that it's come out, the Jeffrey Dahmer tapes has come out on Netflix. I'll probably give that a watch. But yeah, when I watched the other show, the Evan Peters thing, I did have a bit of I wouldn't call it a nightmare necessarily, just a bit of a bad dream. Because I dreamt of being stalked by someone, but it wasn't by Jeffrey. Because he wouldn't do that to me because he was gay, so... Plus he was American, so... It'd be incredible if he came all the way to the UK just to stalk someone like me or whatever, but yeah, Evan Peters, he deserves an award for portraying that character perfectly, just right down to a T. And he said it was the hardest role he's like ever done, and that doesn't surprise me at all in the slightest. I mean, even Heath Ledger had to like lock himself up in a room to prepare for the Joker role, and he had to like write a diary, I think, as the Joker. I'm like, God. And it's no wonder he turned out the way he did in terms of passing away. Even I think it was from a drug overdose, if I remember correctly. I'm not entirely sure, and he was only like 27. And he was, I mean, I've only ever seen him in Brokeback Mountain, but I thought he was fantastic in that. He played that character really, really, really well. You know, a character who's very withdrawn and can't be, you know, obviously because it was like the 60s, and being gay, you know, wasn't accepted and stuff like that. But I do love that film. I think it's beautiful and very, very sad that him and Jack couldn't be together. You know, such a shame. And fun fact, it's also based on a book of the same name. I think it's like a short story. I can't remember the name of the author, but yeah, it's a very good film. There's not anything that didn't feel uncomfortable about. There's literally like technically there's two sex scenes. There's a straight sex scene and then there's a gay sex scene, but you don't really see anything. It's more auditory. You kind of like hear what's happening because it's in like a dark tent between the two guys. So, but yeah. But I don't know what to make of like the whole Netflix thing in terms of apparently the original, I mean the actual families of the victims didn't want the Dahmer show to be made. They said no, don't make it. But apparently Netflix decided to do it anyway. So I don't know what to think about that. Excuse me. So, yeah. And on the creative side of things, I'm going to try and write another book. A sequel to Luna's Journey is the first book I wrote. Well, technically speaking, I've written 2 versions of that. Well, it's the same version, but the second one's more like tidied up, and it's with 2 other stories. So I first wrote Luna's Journey as a standalone book on its own, if people want that. And then there's a version of it with 2 other stories, and that book's called A Small Collection of Stories. It's like got 3 very different stories in it. Some of which people may like, which people may not like. I don't know. But I'm going to try and write a sequel because I do love vampires. I love the Vampire Diaries. I love that show. And yeah, and I've watched that show God knows how many times. And seeing conventions is quite fun. Well, I've never been to one in person, but seeing Ian Somerhalder and Paul Wesley in the in real life, I mean, they're so. I mean, Paul Wesley is so different to Stefan. He's the complete opposite, basically. He's hilariously funny. And I love their bond. They literally have like a brother's bond, which is funny because that's the name of their brand, of their bourbon, which even I would drink if I was able to order it, but I can't because they don't ship to the UK, unfortunately. They don't ship internationally on that scale. And I do want to get some Vampire Diaries merchandise because, as I said, I've loved the show for since it came out in 2009. I think it's such a good show. I really do. People may sort of like think it's not as good from series, is it 7 onwards, maybe? Which would make sense because I think that's when Nina Dobrev is no longer around. But I think she does come back at some point, obviously, as Catherine and Elena at some point. Let's be honest, Vampire Diaries wouldn't be Vampire Diaries without Catherine. Even though she's a bit of a bitch, but she's the bitch you gotta love. And she has her reasons for being that way. I mean, she lost her entire family when she was human, so. But yeah, I love that show, I really, really do. Mainly because it's full of very attractive people. Not gonna lie. But anyway, enough of my rambling. Hope you've enjoyed this random podcast episode. And yeah, thank you for listening. Bye.